morning, Pitchlight Chronicles. I am Uncle Tats. I'm here with Rob, and joining us today is Mazza from Four Trade Express. You all know him from the comment section. You all know him from his YouTube channel. Mike, how is everything going?
Everything is going a lot better than yesterday, I got to tell you.
That is a fact. But, we were able to get back into the win column yesterday, and it was such a needed win. And you saw that Cole didn't have the sharpest stuff. They were running his pitch count up, and it almost seemed in the, in the third inning that just the floor was falling out from under us, and that he wasn't going to be able to really push through and give us any length. And it was just going to be another day where we depended on the bullpen. But he ended up pushing through for 6 innings, only gave up the 2 runs. When you're looking at Cole throughout the season and the way he was able to navigate last night with the high pitch count and still being able to maintain a lot of his velocity, what does this tell you about how he's been preparing for the games this season?
He's a man possessed. This man is a changed pitcher. He's out to really prove to everyone that what everyone was saying about that spider tack and all that other garbage was just it's not true. He doesn't need that. He's better than that, and he's proven that this year.
Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, man possessed is a great way to put it. We've been saying it since the season started. He's pitching like he's angry, and he hears all the chatter about he can't do it. He's a cheater. I know he took Manoah's comments to heart, and he's like, I'm just going to prove you wrong. So, and thank God, I said it the other day, thank God for Garrett Cole, because if we don't have Garrett Cole, we are even further in the basement right now. So he's kept his team alive as far as I'm concerned. And he, once again, yesterday, without his best stuff, goes 8 strikeouts, 6 innings. I mean, that's just prototypical Garrett Cole. And he gave up a few runs, but the fact that we're already a month into the season, his ERA is 1.3. I mean, it's phenomenal. He's pitching great, and we're very fortunate he's on this team right now.
Yeah, what's going on, Jonathan? Welcome. So, Mike, you had sent me this graphic last night, and I have it pulled up here, and it's the comparison to the first 5 games from last year compared to this year, and the numbers are insane. Actually, he just got the alert just came through that he was named the AL Pitcher of the Month for April.
And he rightfully should be.
It rightfully should be. You're right. But in his first 5 games last year, he was 2-0. This year, he's 4-0.
Yep.
24 innings pitched last year. He's got 1 complete game and a shutout this year. He's got 8 earned runs. This year, he's got 3. I mean, this is insane. He had 3 home runs in his first 5 games last year. He's got 0. His ERA was 3. This year, 0.79. I mean, that's unheard of. It's unfathomable how you can go one year to the next, and he keeps attributing it to the fact that he had his first regular season as a Yankee.
Yes.
And I had to think back, and I'm like, he's right, because we had the lockout, with all the COVID stuff. Then we had, last year with last year was what was the problem last year? I forget, but he finally had his first regular spring training, and a lot of the players did, and that's what he keeps attributing to the way he's been able to be. By the time that the game started, he was ready to go.
Yeah. It was the lockout.
Last year was the lockout, right?
Yeah, and the year before that, there was a little hang up over when it was going to start because there was still some COVID concerns.
That's okay. I had it mixed up. All right, what's going on, FJ? But he just seems like like you said, Mike. He's a man possessed. He's on a mission. He wants to give the middle finger to Manoah after those comments, and also not being in that top 10. We've brought that up before. How do you not have Garrett Cole? How is he not one of the top 10 pitchers in the game? Like, there's such a bias once you put on a Yankee uniform when it comes to the acknowledgments. It's almost hilarious.
It really is.
That's not true. I don't believe that because they say Aaron Judge is like the best player in baseball. So,
what? How do you explain the mindset of why he wasn't in the top 10? It just doesn't make any sense.
If they're going based off of last year's numbers, he wasn't a top 10 pitcher. That's just what they're viewing, but it doesn't mean that he's not a top 10 pitcher. So he obviously took that to heart. It's not to say that they have a Yankee bias. It's just last year, in the regular season, he was not that good. Let's be honest. He struggled. And there was a lot of games where like Garrett Cole is not earning his money, and then he turned it around in the postseason when we needed it the most.
He stepped up big in the postseason.
Yeah.
We were also able to see that Bader has returned. And he didn't have a killer night, but his defense, like we all thought, would be fine. He was he put together some solid at bats. Nothing impactful, but nothing where it's like, all right, he was rushed back, which was my concern. Was that they were rushing him back because they were tired of all the noise, and they needed to make a change drastically. Do you think it was better that they just brought him up rather than having him put the same at bats in AAA to warm him up? Just let him reacclimate up here on the major league level.
I don't know if I would say that. I would say that, like you said, not rushing him was the smart thing to do, because last night he made a couple of really spectacular defensive plays. So I think the fact that they didn't rush him really helped, and it made it easier for him to get reacclimated to the big league level.
Yeah, because they weren't talking about bringing him up until we were down in Tampa. So the fact they brought him up, I mean, it's only 2 games. We're not talking like it's 2 weeks early, but still, they brought him back before the date that we were told.
Yeah.
Like it almost seemed like desperation, but he does look like he's ready. And another 2 days was not gonna make or break any of his progress.
I agree with that.
No, 2 days could have actually hurt his progress for all we know. We've seen how they prolong rehab assignments, and anything can go wrong when you're doing that. So it was the right time. We desperately needed the help, and it's another player just 1 game in. He's 1 for 4. The defense was there. He's already outplayed the guy we have in left field in 1 game. I mean, it doesn't take much to outplay that dude in left field, but that he already has. So it's great to see him back. And when we do get a couple other guys back, this lineup will be a lot more full and a lot more serviceable. And with other guys heating up as of late, like even Calhoun and Volpe, it's going to make things a little bit better. So we desperately needed a Bader. And I don't care that he's an average bat, he's a above average fielder, whatever. It's so much better than what we've been trotting out there for the last couple of weeks that it's a major upgrade. So once we get Judge back and eventually some other bats like Stanton and even Donaldson, things will be hopefully a little bit better. But this is the first step into hopefully a big wave of guys we have coming off the IL soon.
Back onto the pitching side. What does it say about Holmes that King was given the save last night? Do you think that are they moving on from Holmes, or it's just 1 game? We don't know what their overall view is going to be with this pitching situation, because King has been the one that's been the consistent of the 2 of them that were coming back. I think King has made the most progress and has developed his command a lot quicker than Holmes, because Holmes cannot close a game. We went into this yesterday in length about how pissed off we were that they keep forcing guys into situations that they just can't handle. King looked very poised on the mound, which is why we didn't blow the game.
So, go ahead, Rob.
Oh, no. Just saying King was in that role last year, and that's where he excelled. The cleanup, he's the mop-up guy when things are getting bad. Clay Holmes is not that guy, and he hasn't really been that guy. So the fact that that was my biggest issue was 2 nights ago they brought him in with the runner on and 1 out, and you're like, this spells disaster, because if he can't locate, which he didn't, it's going to be a bad inning, and that's exactly what happened. Where Michael King, his stuff is so filthy, and he's got very good control. He's going to get you out of those jams more often than not. So Michael King, I wouldn't limit him to 1 inning, though. As good as he is, he could be the closer, but he's so good giving you 2 innings a night, potentially maybe even more out of the bullpen. I don't know if they can afford to put him in that 9th inning role. So right now, you have to hope that you get Canely back, and then maybe you can try him in the ninth inning, and you got to pray that Clay Holmes can be put into a clean ninth and get the job done, because we've seen him do it already this year, but it's been very inconsistent. So it's still this merry-go-round of who can be the closer. I just don't know if they want to put King in that ninth inning only, because he's so good at getting you out of the seventh and the eighth, leading into the ninth, or the 2 outs in the eighth and getting you 3 outs in the ninth. But then that's going to overtax his arm, so you got to be cautious of that. But he's very valuable, giving you multiple innings.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, it was great that he went out after he came in and pitched that 2/3 of an inning, came out and pitched the ninth, because that kind of put the whole mindset of, oh, great, now we're going to have another bad inning at ease, because of how clutch King is. And that is why it is so important to have guys like a Michael King or a Wandy Peralta, or even, a healthy Tommy Kahnle when he's on. That's why it's so important to have guys healthy, because of instances like that.
Yeah, you even saw, you brought up Kahnle. Did you catch him in the dugout yesterday playing cheerleader for everybody, hyping everybody up? He is so ready to get back on the field to make an impact. I hope he comes back sooner rather than later. But believe it or not, LA actually brings up a good question. Believe it or not. If the Yankees are smart, which I doubt they would, because I don't give them any credit either. Would you option Clay Holmes to AAA for his mechanics, or would you with no pressure and build his confidence up? I don't know if optioning him down is the move right now. Maybe once we get another bullpen piece back, then you subtract from the bullpen. What would you do, Rob?
I don't know if they can afford to send him down. I mean, they could theoretically, and then call up. I know Colton Brewer just got activated from the IL in the minors. They could do that. Maybe you go back to Greg Weiser, but having Loaizaga hurt now, and we know Trevino's out for the rest of the year. Still don't have Efros, and we're still missing Kahnle. I mean, you hope that maybe Colton Brewer can be a Ian Hamilton type or Jimmy Cordero. Those have been two really good pitchers for us this year so far. I think they should do what they've done in the past and just give him a different role, because it worked at times for a guy like Chapman. When they put him like in the seventh, it would work and he would pitch a little bit better. So maybe they try that. But if they sent him down, I'm not going to be upset. I think that's not the worst idea he's ever had.
It was a good question to bring up, but it wasn't completely out of left field. But I just think that the bullpen's not healthy enough to start subtracting even further. So that's why I would hesitate on that. But it's obvious that he's not mentally prepared right now. His confidence is shook to be the closer. King was ready for it. But like they said, maybe move him in, like TC Steele said, maybe put him in middle relief. Take a lot of the heat off him. Let him figure it out on the major league level in low stress situations.
Yeah, that's probably your only option is to do that. I mean, again, we've had some solid innings thus far from Cordero and Ian Hamilton, so maybe they just shift the roles. But you need to get Kahnle back, and then we can think about moving Holmes to a different role or sending him down to work on some stuff. But there's one thing that is apparent. He can't be the ninth inning guy. You want to try him out in the sixth or the seventh, fine, but he can't be in the ninth inning, because we've seen it already a couple of times where King looks so much more comfortable, or Peralta looks so much more comfortable pitching in those spots than Holmes is. Holmes needs a clean inning, and even then, you kind of hold your breath. But if you give him a spot with the guy on base, then you're asking for trouble. It's very reminiscent to when we did it with Chapman, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah. Good morning, Donald.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning,
Congratulations.
Good morning, Fortune Express. How are you?
Congratulations on the Knicks win last night. So I figured you had a Knicks hangover. But you're looking at this bullpen, Donald. We'll get you into discussion. I don't know if you saw Eli's comment. I'll pull it back up really quick. But would you move Clay Holmes to AAA to fix his mechanics? Would you move him into middle relief like we're talking about? Because I don't want to take a piece away from the bullpen at this point until we get a little healthier. But what would you do when it comes to Clay Holmes?
with Johnny Lowe hurt for an extended period of time, we don't really have the option to send him down. Now, I can't stand Clay Holmes. I'm making that very clear. I cannot stand the guy. I think he's an absolute joke. But we can't send him down. So the only way we can do this is put him in middle relief. And as Rob said, put him in a clean inning. But not a high leverage situation. Not right now. Not until he gets his confidence together. If he gets his confidence together, because as I say, he's got an ERA of almost 6 since July of last year. So this isn't getting better, despite Aaron Boone trying to gaslight us yesterday, saying, "Oh, he's fine, he's doing great, he's awesome, he's gonna start banging," or whatever his nonsense is. He isn't gonna get better. So we have to find another option. I think it's Wandy Peralta, and I think it's probably Mike King at this point, and get Marinaccio involved in high leverage situations, and then hope that we can stay somewhat afloat until we get towards the trade deadline, the trade time where there'll be more trade options available, and hopefully bring in a reliever. But at this stage, who knows? Because as I say, this month is going to really decide where we go. In my opinion, until Stanton's healthy, until we start getting more arms back this month, I'd be shocked if we make it to 500. If we play 500 ball, then we've still got a shot. If not, then we have to seriously consider whether it's worth making massive moves at the trade deadline. It's pretty serious, I think. I don't think this is a quick fix here. Brian Cashman slept through the offseason. And now we're in a situation there's a ton of moves, at least 7 or 8 major moves that needs to be made just to make this a competitive team.
Yeah, but isn't it a little too early to get ahead to the trade deadline? Maybe near the end of the month we could start really evaluating where teams, because I don't think teams know where they are yet and what direction other teams want to go.
Well, that's it, because that's why there's no options available for trade right now, because there's a lot of teams that are still in it. And as I say, our normal trade our trade partners, the Pirates, are having a much better year than we are. So they're going to stay competitive, and I doubt they're going to make anybody available to us right now. So unless we want to try and take more guys from the A's, but do you want to risk that? So we're in a situation where I don't know. Try and find maybe one of those Edwin Encarnacion types and see if his parrot is available by a trade. I don't know what we're going to do, but something needs to be done. There's a lot of work that needs to be done here. This thing's a mess, complete mess, top to bottom.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes. That's the problem. There's a lot of holes, and those holes keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the game. And that's the thing. The floodgates are starting to open more and more, and once those floodgates open, it's going to be very hard to stop that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that's been a positive, right? And now that Donald's with us and when everybody's here, let's talk about how of an uplift Anthony Volpe has been and how much we have needed. That he has really taken the role of being the leadoff hitter very well. And I think that this is where we're going to see him in the lineup for a long time. I think that this is the right role for him. I'm loving everything I'm seeing from Volpe on the field, at the plate, in the clubhouse, with the media. He has really, in his first month of his major league career, has really developed into a staple of this team.
Yeah. I mean, he just had his first career 100 at-bats now as of last night, and he's hitting fine. I mean, the average can be up, sure, but a 336 on base, OPS just a shade over 700. You don't expect him to have too much pop, but he did his 3rd home run last night. He's stealing bases, and his weighted runs created plus just went up over 100. So he's he's just above league average. So you want to see a guy, if he's going to be anywhere, either at the league average mark, which is 100, even if it's slightly below, you're like, okay. But now that he's above that mark, you're seeing it. And over his last 15 games, he's been fantastic, conveniently since going into the leadoff spot. So it's good to see Volpe hitting, and it's almost as if he just needed a little bit of time before people gave him that bust label, and they were doing that 4 games into his career like idiots. And he's been great. He's been one of the few things we can be celebrating about this team right now, is the fact that Volpe looks like he's getting better and better Is everything perfect? No, but he made a game-saving defensive play last night, and he won the game with his bat too.
Yeah, he's getting on base, he's stealing bases. But Mazda, what's your take on it?
We've been in dire need of a spark plug for the last I don't know how many years. I mean, ever since Peter left, and retired, we haven't had that prominent spark plug, and that's what we've needed. And ever since Volpe has come up and made the team, he has been that prominent spark plug. He gets on, he steals bases. He's a defensive wizard. We've seen that. He's proven that. He's pretty much told everyone, "Hey, I'm here to stay." And his bat's coming around. So he's really been that spark plug that we've needed.
It's especially when if you're able if last night's game like TC brings up, if this is something that's going to help us build some momentum, and we need all the momentum we can get going, after this series going down to Tampa. But if you're able to get a lot of these kids on track, I want to see more from Cabrera. I think that like Donald brought up a couple of days ago about the sophomore slump, and it is a real thing. But Cabrera's got to snap out of it a little bit. It hasn't affected his defense.
His defense has been great.
I think that's one of the things that leaves you to be a little more hopeful is they're not treading so much on their offense where their defense is slipping. They were able to navigate through these. They're navigating through these slumps without it affecting everybody's overall play. And I think that's something to hold hope on.
Yeah, with Cabrera, he's been he needs to snap out of it because he's the guy that out of the three rookies, he's the one that provides you probably the most pop, I'd say, because he's got that lefty swing that can just kill it in Yankee Stadium. But over his last 2 weeks of play, he has 4 hits or something like that in his last 40 something at bats. He's been bad, so we need him to get going. And the Yankees need that. They need somebody from those 3 kids. If it's 2 out of 3 of them would be fantastic. If it's Cabrera and Volpe, or if it's Peraza and Volpe, they need someone like Calhoun to start hitting for power. He got one yesterday. He's actually been our best hitter over the last 7 games, which is crazy. They need LeMahieu to pick it up a little bit, and they need Torres to pick it up. You need your regulars to start hitting, and hope that one of those kids, along with Volpe, can get the bat going as well, and just try to find offense wherever you can get it because you need to find it. And I still think they should give a shot to Chaparro right now because it doesn't hurt you to try it. And who knows what he can provide you. Maybe it's just some home runs. That's great because we need the power. But you got to wherever you can get offense from, you have to take it. And right now, there's only a few guys that are really hitting. It's maybe 3 of our 9 that are hitting pretty well as of late, and that's Rizzo, Calhoun, and Volpe. So they need a couple of guys to step up right now while we're out with Aaron Judge and out with Giancarlo Stanton and Josh Donaldson even. They need someone to step up, and it's got to be a couple of those guys.
No, I think you're going to see a lot of the bench players start to get weaned out once players come back healthy. Cordero's not he's been all over the place, up, down, and all over. I don't even think he unpacks his bag anymore. Calhoun, although he's been one of our hottest bench players, he's not a staple piece going forward. He just might relegate back to being an actual bench player and not be a full in the lineup every day. Because that's a player that I'm leaning toward. You know what? I don't want to let him go too quick. And we all know he who should not be named needs to go.
I mean, it's 4 players that have already overlapped him. And like I said earlier, Bader's played 1 game. He's already better. So the experiment that just never seems to end needs to end. And he's the guy that needs to get let go. And they can give another shot to somebody else while we're going through this injury period. But again, it's still bleak. I'm not going to rely on Willie Calhoun. It's been a great week for him, but he could easily go over his next 30 because he's just not a good hitter. So they have to find offense wherever they can get it and ride the hot hand. So while Calhoun's hitting, you keep him in the lineup. And then when he goes cold, you take him out. The same way they did with Cordero.
You had me online until you mentioned LeMahieu. Stop. We're not doing that. We're in
Not
a good
gonna
mood
happen.
today. They're off with a win. We're not playing that.
No.
But, it's let's get Jigga Man on here because he deserves some attention. He's like, I agree, but we cannot say anything about our young guys doing bad when we have Aaron Hicks on the roster. Every kid can do amazing, but we would still be held back by coaching, Hicks, and injuries. Absolutely, and that's why Hicks is the one that really needs to go because he's such a problem. He's such a problem. You cannot keep putting this guy out there. There was a video, I forget which account put it out, where they're doing the roll call, and they call out Bader, and he's like all into it. They were almost begging Hicks to acknowledge them, because he was on the field. It's what they do. They gave him the roll call, and he just kind of like lifted his hand real quick. Like he's not even engaging with the fans anymore. Like he's completely disconnected.
Yeah.
At least show a little emphasis. They're giving you a chance to get a little cheer out of the fans, and he pretty much just flips them off. He is so out of touch with what being a Yankee is. There is no saving him.
No, there really isn't, and he's a cancer to the clubhouse.
Yeah,
He is because of how disconnected he is, and when your own team gives up hope on you, that should say that it's your time is done.
right.
Talk about anybody else. Talk about anybody else
Right.
because he doesn't deserve to be talked.
All right, let's get into the injury reports a little bit. And we got news last night or during the day yesterday that Rodon had yet another setback. Are we that concerned that is it to that point where we might not see him this year with all these setbacks with his back? Because as somebody that's had back injuries, and issues with myself, it's a pain in the ass trying to recover from a back. If it's structural into the back, it's going to be a while until that starts to really where he's able to be full strength. And when you're pitching, it's emphasized even more. How concerned are you about Rodon and the contract that he got?
I mean, is it concerning? Yes, but it's not something to flip out about just yet. I mean, you got to give him time to get on the field and actually see what he does, because we don't know if this is going to be another Carl Pavano situation. We don't know that. We can't base that just off of this year. We have to see what he does when he comes back and on the field. So, with that being said, it's not something to hit the panic button just yet. I would give it till next year, and then if it's still the same issue, then I would hit the panic button.
Yep. Don, what's your take on the whole thing with Rodon?
Hey, everybody. Hey, chat. Love the chat today. Chat's really live. Sunil, I'd sign Donald Stewart. My pleasure, my guy. My pleasure. Of course I'm concerned. This is ridiculous. Obviously, I think I've actually been pretty patient with Rodon. Like he's had all spring to at least pitch. He's had all April, and we're into May, and there's still no sighting of him. I have no idea what is going on. I have no idea the status of his health when Brian Cashman signed him, because he doesn't earn the benefit of the doubt after the Montas trade. Because again, he lied to us, saying that he was healthy when he traded for Montas, and Montas has actually confirmed that was a complete lie. He was in fact hurt. So Brian Cashman could still be just signing dudes that are hurt, and they're not really doing the background check, because he did that to Severino. He extended Severino without checking his the ARI whatever and MRI, and he was actually hurt. There was a structural issue with his arm shoulder. So This is what Brian Cashman does. He signs people that are hurt. This is his MO. So he doesn't exactly get the benefit of the doubt. But having said that, I was excited when we signed him. This was our headline signing. This is in fact the only move we made all summer, all winter. Sorry. So we have to give him a chance, but it is looking concerning. I'm not even going to give him until next year. He has to pitch at some point before the end of the summer, or this is a joke. Like, we signed him to be a help right now. So, I'm getting Carl Pavano vibes here early Carl Pavano vibes. Montas, just an absolute joke. This is such a joke, really. It's just all a joke. But to circle back to some of the earlier discussions, yeah, I think Anthony Volpe is one of the few positives that we can really take from this past week or two. I think he handles himself with grace, and he tries extremely hard, and he doesn't take any at bats off. He really works the count. He does everything he possibly can to try and be a good shortstop for the Yankees and carry himself well. And it's a breath of fresh air, and that's why we should see more of that. We should give more opportunities to younger guys, because there's too much lack of recourse for failure from our veterans. So give the chance to somebody that actually has upside, and that goes for Peraza, who I don't even know what his role is. Peraza has no role, and I'm not quite sure why they think that him playing every second or third day is somehow going to develop him. Like, what is that? Like, what are you learning from him doing that? It just really speaks to the fact that they don't like him that much, in my opinion. It seems pretty clear to me. Or it's just that they just don't have a plan for him, which is just as bad. So I don't know about that, but we've got Volpe, and Volpe's been great. Plays good shortstop, steals bases, works the count, works deep counts, and he's shown some power. And he was probably the reason why we won yesterday. So if you want a positive, Volpe is your positive. But if you're talking about cancers in the locker room, the biggest cancer in the locker room is the lack of accountability. So it isn't just Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks is a small element of that. This actually starts from Brian Cashman down to Aaron Boone, because there is no recourse for failure, just to repeat what Brandon Tierney said the other day. And that's the biggest cancer. When if you underperform, if you don't hustle, it's okay, because you'll be playing the next day, right? If you've got a big contract, you're gonna play every single day, and there's gonna be absolutely no problem if you bat 100, and it won't problem if you flick off the fans. It doesn't matter, because we believe in you. This nonsense, right? There is no accountability, and that is the biggest cancer in the locker room. That is the biggest reason why the Yankees haven't won a World Series, and it isn't just one player. Hicks is just he's the face of it. He's the focal point of it, but there's others. There's a ton of others, and that's really what it comes down to, man. If they're like, even look at Clay Holmes, Josh Donaldson, it goes on. It's been years of this. Gary Sanchez, years of this. Aroldis Chapman, years of this, and that is why we haven't won a World Series. The biggest cancer that's causing the Yankees to underachieve is the lack of recourse. That it's okay to fail. It's okay to not play well. It's okay to not play hard, because Aaron Boone will make an excuse for you, and Brian Cashman will make an excuse for you. That's why. That's absolutely what it is.
It's exactly right. He's the face of it. I think that's the good point. The good point. There's so many other holes that now that we're getting Bader back, we're getting Judge was taking some swings in BP. So I actually, they were saying it's looking more like, his 10 days is really going to be just 10 days. We're not, he's not on the Yankee clock, because we all know when the Yankees say 10 days, that's 10 weeks. Just upgrade, they say 10 weeks, it's 10 months. Just multiply the timeline. it's given at least we need to know where we're at. But like you're saying, by the end of the month, we need to see which pieces are back, which pieces are close to being back, because once you get towards the end of the month, you're going to start to see where some of the teams are really falling in the standings, and then you're going to start. Then you'll have the opportunity to take a look around to see what moves you can make leading into the trade deadline season. Mike,
Exactly.
I agree with that. I mean, you've got to really focus in on the areas, though. If you're going to make deals at the deadline, you really need to focus in on those holes that we have and try and fix it before it gets worse. Because at this point, what Donald was saying earlier about it and Rob too, it's just not getting fixed. You're just wasting everyone's time, and that's not something you want to do.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Don't waste anybody's time. Rob, what do you think?
About what?
Oh, Judge May only having that legitimate 10-day, not the 10 weeks, getting healthy, by the end of the month.
He's going to be healthy in like 4 more days, I think. So, and I wouldn't have him play in Tampa because that field is a disaster and it's an injury waiting to happen. So, I mean, that's what I said after he got hurt. Just IL him, get it over with, because it's probably going to be a 10-day minimum thing anyway. Yep. And it was going to suck not having him, but it's better to not have him for 10 days than to not have him for 3 months, because if you live without him for 10 days in April into May, it's a lot better than saying, well, at least we'll get him back the last week of September, because we've seen it happen before with other players where they underestimate how hurt they are. So I'm just glad that they're playing it safe, I guess, with him. They should have IL'd him sooner just to get it out of the way, but it's retroactive, so it doesn't really matter. They'll get him back, hopefully in the 10-day minimum, which I believe would be right in the end of the Tampa series. So just keep him out until we're out of Tampa, because you don't want him playing, unless you're DHing him in Tampa, that's fine, but you just don't want him playing the field in that excuse for turf, that they call it. Yeah. So just keep him out of that dump of a field, and just wait for him to get 100% back when you're back in the Bronx.
He needs to play at least one of those games in Tampa, though, man, because we're in no position to be taking games off against Tampa. Tampa are going to could be 10, 11, 12 games ahead by the time the end of that series with Tampa is. And then it's a massive mountain to climb. Yeah, I think they need to DH him at least one or two of those games. We're not in any position now. And to be honest, once Judge is back, we're not in any position to rotate the guys like we love to do, because we've dug such a hole for ourselves in the last place. So it needs to be pedaled to the metal from now until September.
Well, I think with the clock, I don't with Judge's timeline, I don't think he's available for Tampa. Maybe the last game, but the first mistake they made with him was putting him in the lineup the day after that next game after the slide. That was a mistake.
That was a mistake. Yeah.
I mean, we're all on here saying so. So it's not like we're coming up with anything new. But I think that isn't it better that we're going through this before the deadline and not after, like we did last year, where there was no room to make any more moves.
Here's the problem with discussing the deadline, man, because the deadline isn't a fix. It's not the be-all, end-all, man, because Brian Cashman tried to fix this team to make it a World Series team at the deadline, and it's set us back years. It was an absolute disaster. Everything was a complete disaster last deadline for Cashman. And the previous deadline, apart from Rizzo, Roy Gallo set us back. So the idea that Brian Cashman just needs to wait till July and he'll magically heal everything, no. Because when it's like rebuilding your team at the trade deadline in the NBA or the NFL. You know what I mean? It's like you really need to be doing this work in the offseason to really properly strategize and plan out right. This guy has a future here. This guy doesn't. This guy I think is expendable. This guy I think needs a bigger role. That kind of stuff is off-season discussions. Just leaving it 24 hours before the trade deadline and going, right, let's quick. It often leads to disaster. That's why it didn't work last year. Didn't really work the year before. And Brian Cashman's failed in the deadlines prior to that as well. So I don't like this strategy. I didn't understand this strategy from the start. I didn't understand the fan base going, oh, it's fine. Just wait to spring training. You'll make a trade at spring training. No, all this needs to be done in the winter. So to circle back to your question, should we just, is it not better just to know this stuff now prior to the deadline? Not really, because the deadline ain't a quick fix, and it's not the be-all, end-all. So we really need to be working on this team right now. Really start planning ahead right now.
Yep.
I just want to touch on something that Donald had pointed out was that move at the deadline with Montas. That almost seemed like a panic move.
It was, because he didn't get their guy.
Yep.
Castillo.
Yep. Yeah, as soon as they missed on Castillo, that was a Hail Mary trade. It's been just a long month, through April, and hopefully with this game that we had last night, it starts to clean itself up. We just got to survive just don't get swept in Tampa. Take a game, try to win the series. Just don't let them get too far ahead of you. I think that's what it is. Try to at least keep it as close as you can while you're waiting for some of the cavalry to come back. Because if they start to really run away with it like the Yankees did last year, it does happen where it's just they're so far ahead. Look at the month of August that we had last year, and nobody caught us. And so, if that gap keeps widening, it's just going to be another year like last year. But the Yankees are going to be on the short end of the stick, and we can't afford that this year, especially with all the money that we put into Cole and Judge, the contract we gave to Rodon, the emergence of these kids coming in. We need to emphasize more on getting back to what Yankee baseball was, and that is competing at the highest level. They have not gotten there yet.
They won't win under this management. By the way, did you guys hear what Carton and Roberts said yesterday? Why are Yankee fans so angry all the time? They need to calm down. They're always above 500. They're always competing. Do you think that is actually the Yankee front office contacting Craig Carton, going, "You need to feed this message to the fan base to stop telling them to calm down"?
That's just poking.
Probably in a response to Brandon Tierney, because Brandon Tierney has been making waves all through Twitter, and a lot of people are supporting how strong he was against Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner and Aaron Boone. Do you think it's a response to that? I do. I guarantee you that the Yankee front office contacted Craig Carton. Guarantee you. No, it's a Yankee flagship station. This is how the Yankees work. They use the media to gaslight the fans. That's how they do things.
You also remember Evan's a Met fan, so he's enjoying this misery. And Carton chooses his fandom by popping a balloon before the season starts. And so I don't take his fandom that seriously, but it does seem like a dig at Brandon. But if you poke at one fan, you're really poking at all of us. Yep. So it's they just need to. Craig needs to just stay in his lane.
He's not even a true Yankee fan, as you say, man. He changes his opinion on a daily basis. But I know he's got a lot of contacts with the Yankees, and I think the Yankees have reached out to him.
Yep. But
I guarantee you
it. The key right now, the only thing that we have to focus on right now is just watching this team just try to win a series. Don't lose another series going back on the road. It was a quick 3-game home series. They really just they got to play a game like they did yesterday. It was good to see the late inning offense. We didn't really touch on that, how they were able to come from behind to win a game for a change, and not just fold their cards up and go home. But it's with Schmidt on the mound, you don't know what you're going to get.
For trainer, are you at work, my guy?
I am at work.
Awesome, man. Where do you work?
I actually work for the U.S. Navy.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah. So I actually get to work on 18th, which is fun.
That's awesome, man. That's really great.
But I always have time to, at work, make time to get on, jump on when I can. So.
And we definitely appreciate it. We don't always
Yeah.
see you every day in the chat. And speaking of the chat, if you guys didn't realize, you got us such a push from yesterday. We have finally hit 300 subscribers, but we don't want that number to stop there. Let's keep that number climbing, because this is all about you guys, and you guys deserve you guys deserve a lot of credit, because without you guys, we wouldn't have really much to interact with except for each other, and nobody wants to hear me talking all the time. So, but we really do appreciate everybody. Just remember, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Mazza, as always, thank you for coming to hang out with us.
Thank you for hopping on, my guy.
But,
Look after yourself.
And as always, wear your pinstripes with pride and play hard.